Welcome to Hornets Sports Buzz, episode number 13. Today we're going to talk about Mansfield High School boys basketball. With me today on my far left is Tommy Dooling. Welcome, Tommy.
Thank you for having me.
And in the middle we have Damani Scott. So we're going to talk all about boys basketball in about 30 seconds. As usual, we're going to give a quick rundown of how the other sports are doing. Big news, the wrestling team won last night against Franklin. You guys wrestling fans?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple of our friends play wrestle, so like we go and support sometimes.
Yeah, so I think they're guaranteed, I think, a spot for at least a share of the title, and hopefully they'll win the last two meets. They're 14-4 overall. Gymnastics and track, boys and girls both undefeated. Swimming team hasn't won yet, but hopefully that'll change the second half of the year. The hockey team's 10-3, the boys. The girls are 5-4-2. We had Coach Bain on for the girls hockey team last episode. And the hoop team, which we're going to talk about, the boys are 9-1, and the girls are 6-3. So overall, 55 wins, 24 losses, and 2 ties, which is a 69 winning percentage. I think Coach Belichick would probably be happy with that. That's Mansfield overall.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk all about boys basketball. 9-1, Damani and Tommy. Do you like Tommy or Tom?
Tommy.
All right, good. I was going to call you Tommy. Both seniors, captain, and a little while, we're going to talk to Christian Connor, the other captain, and Coach Vaughn. Congratulations on being named captain. It's quite an honor. Is it just you two and Christian, or do you have more captains?
Just us three.
So I know every sport does it differently, but can you tell me a little bit about how you guys are elected captains? It's not just because you're seniors, because you're good players, you're leaders, but tell me about the process, Damani, how you elected captain.
Well, being in the program, being on the varsity team, like 3 years, have a lot of experience. Just taking like leadership and like following up like other leaders and like watching them, and like me my junior year kind of like following the seniors lead more, paying more attention, and just doing the little things right, like showing up on time, being more engaged in practice, and all the little things matter more than the big things. Little things you don't see during game time. It all happens mostly during practice and like team bondings, and if coach asks you to do a favor, you do it. Just the little things like that. Like
washing his car or something like that? No. And we're gonna get back. You brought up some good points, Tommy. What about you? What do you see yourself, your role as captain?
I say my role as leading by example for the younger guys on the team. I want to be the person they look up to when they don't know what to do right. I want to be the person that's always doing it right. That's
good. So, people that come to the games and watch on Mansfield Cable, which I don't think there's many games on Mansfield Cable.
Yeah,
we might have to change that. But what are some of the things off the court that you guys do? I mean, on the court, people see it. You guys are your starters, you're the leaders. But what about off the court? What are some of the things like you guys, Coach Vaughn asked you to do?
Well, we do a lot of fundraising for the team, like going to different stores, asking them like to donate any gift cards for a night of the races. So that can be fun doing that with the whole team. We have a social captain also, who also Coach Vaughn can talk about that a little more. Yep. He thought of a can drive to bring in cans for the game against Franklin. And then we're working with something else on the side too.
That's great. And my understanding, which I will ask coaches, as opposed to other sports, you guys all have different roles. We won't say who the social captain is. That's the person that likes to have the most fun, right?
Not really.
No. And then do you have an academic captain? Or
yeah.
What kind of captain are you, Damani, besides being a great captain?
I'm the locker room captain and the bus captain. Okay. So I make sure, for locker room, make sure like the locker room's clean. Make sure there's no horse playing. Well, there could be like just a little horse putting up, but nothing too serious.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's on time in the locker room, especially before games and stuff, focusing up. Yeah. And then the bus captain, I make sure we have everyone on the bus, there and back, and make sure we're always focused before the games, especially a big home game or a big away game or something.
That's great. We can talk more about that. That's all important stuff. Let's talk a little bit about the season. I'm going to talk a little bit about last year with Coach Vaughn, but defending state champions, and obviously you're both part of the team. You had different roles, but that's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, Mansfield's won some over the years in track and in football, Coach Redding, but It's your Mansfield's first one, right?
Yeah.
Mansfield.
And I think the Hawk, I looked, not many Hawk teams have ever won a state championship in basketball, so
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. And so we'll talk about that. We could talk about that all day because, state champions. But this year, 9-1, right? Let's talk about the loss first. You see, Tommy, what happened? Second game of the year. Not what happened. Like, you guys are going to lose eventually. But overtime game to Attleboro?
Yeah. Looking back on it, I think we needed that loss for us to come together and play better as a team, for us to realize that we can't just walk on the court and beat anyone.
But you probably, knowing Coach Vaughn, and you probably didn't have that attitude because I think they're 9-1 themselves
Yeah,
this year,
they're a
right?
good team.
So, hopefully you're going to get another shot at them,
Yeah.
Damani, right?
Yeah. Well, we just need to know that we can't show up and because just because we're state champs, we can't show up and just beat anyone. And Attleboro gave us a little run. We made a good comeback. That's what we're coached to do. Always make a comeback, never give up. But it's just the little things. Once again, we didn't pick up on that. We pick up now. We didn't have game 2. Week 2 of the season. So
Yeah.
I feel like we'll be a lot much better. Moving forward, and we're getting a lot much better as a team.
It'll be good to play them again.
Yeah, and so if that was week 2, that's probably coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Attleboro, and you'll be at home this time?
Yep.
Yeah. So you want people to come out and watch the game? right?
Definitely, yeah.
That'll be
Come
good.
out.
So, and tell me if I'm wrong. You guys are both. You were a starter last year, and you kind of were right off the bench. Sometimes you started right,
Yeah.
last year. So you have increased roles this year. But do you guys feel like as a team you have a target on your back? I mean, Division I state champions.
Yeah.
6-time defending Kelly Rex champions. I mean, it's good and bad because you guys have confidence, bravado, but it's even the lesser teams in the Hawk are coming at you, right? You feel that?
Yeah. We every team we play, it's like a Super Bowl for them. It feels like we were up in Hanover last Sunday. It was like a 45-minute bus ride at 9 a.m. and they were cranked up, ready to go. That was another wake-up call too. We ended up winning by 2, but it was a close one.
So 9 a.m. So you guys skipped school that day, or was it?
It was
a week?
Sunday.
All right. So I gotta ask the F word, Franklin. You guys are scared there. You guys won that.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Mansfield defeated Franklin in the Division I state title last year, it's kind of strange because they're in the Hawk, but they play in the Central for the tourney.
Yeah.
So anyways, tell us about that game, Damani. I mean, that went for a W, right?
As a team, an overall team, I feel like it was a team win. We had a lot of sophomores step up, and we had a lot, and we just figured out who can really play at a really really high level because Franklin they'll give us everything. We'll give them everything. So it was a good overall game, good punch for us, and that's what we needed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to improve too.
Yeah.
Coach Vaughn and you guys, they're well coached and they have some good leadership and players that have been there for the last year or 2 or 3. So I think I'll make the trip to Franklin to go to that game.
Yeah.
But,
That'll be a fun one.
yeah, that's good. And then what other game? You talked about Hanover was a close game, and I think any other games that stood out. Even we try not to focus on individually, but either individually or a team that stood out so far this year.
I thought not necessarily. This wasn't really the part of the game, but it was part of the game. Our last game against Canton, we got to be a part of Xavier Bachuga coming on the court and scoring a basket, which was pretty special for us as a team, and it opened our eyes to something that was a lot bigger than basketball. Me and Damani were AAU teammates with X.
Oh, that's
So
great. I'm glad you
was-
brought that up.
Yeah.
I saw that in the news. That's great. So, I was going to ask Coach, a couple of years ago, right? He had a serious accident. Is that what
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, we were on his spring AU team, and it was just tough. One of his teammates from Canton came up to the whole team and addressed it to us, and we got the news, and we were all devastated. So just being a part of that whole atmosphere, cheering him on, and Tommy and I knowing him more personal than other people, it it touched me and
Yeah.
Tommy a little more than it did other kids on the team. But as a whole team, we were the first ones to clap. We were there for him, give him a little pat on the back. After he made his shot, we were all there for him.
That's great. You guys did the right thing.
It
And
was special.
I was saying to Coach Redding, they just went down to the girls went down to Newington, Connecticut, or Newtown, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh yeah.
And in 10 years from now, 5 years, you're probably always going to remember if you beat or lost to Franklin. But You might not remember the King Philip game or the Canton game, but you're going to remember that. So
Yes, definitely.
that's good. And,
Yeah.
and Coach Gordy, I believe, used to play
Yeah,
for Coach Vaughn.
yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, that's great. So we're going to save some of the questions for Christian and Coach, but just talk about next year. Again, I always say we're going to wrap it up, but I'm going to talk to you briefly about the tournament because you guys are going to make it, right? But Tommy, do you know what you're going to do next year?
I'm playing basketball at Wentworth.
That's good. It's important. That's great.
Yeah.
So you've already accepted, or
Yeah.
That's congratulations. That's
Thank you.
good. And any other Mansfield kids playing there, or any Hawk kids that you know of?
No, I think a kid from Bridgewater Raynham is thinking about going there though. That I played earlier. We played
good.
earlier in the
That's
year.
good. Maybe you'll have to talk them into it.
Yeah.
That's good. What about yourself, Damani? Do you know yet?
I think I want to go to prep school, do another post-grad year. I'm still keeping my options open, but I want to do another year to improve my grades and get more looks for myself, play AAU basketball again to get more exposure and hopefully go to higher divisions and really show what I can play and stuff.
That's good. That's good. And again, we don't dwell on the individual, but you had a pretty good tournament run last year. Were you made the all-tournament team for maybe the Globe or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
I think most of Mansfield saw the tournament run that you guys have.
Yeah.
And John McCoy is playing. Where is he playing this
Tilton.
year? Tilton.
Yeah, it's
And
like a
he's-
prep school.
And he's already accepted a scholarship to play at University of Delaware.
Yeah, it's awesome.
That's impressive. Let me see. Any other questions? No. Oh, multi-sport athletes. I always ask people what they think of it. Do you play any other sports besides?
I played football and then I decided to focus on my grades and focus more on basketball because I want to pursue basketball a lot more, take it a little bit more serious. So I did play football and then I kind of eased off a little bit off of
Yeah.
it. But I do throughout my whole
Yeah.
metro and high school, I do playing multiple sports. It is fun. I recommend a lot of younger
Oh, definitely.
a lot of younger kids play it and do it. But versus me personally, I just feel my senior year I just want to focus on mostly my grades.
Yeah.
A lot
That's
from
good.
the grades are huge, and that's a huge wake up call for me because I honestly didn't even realize that till
No, that's
the
great.
beginning of the school year. So I just decided to focus on basketball and my grades a lot
And
more.
he's the first kid to come on the show and say that, so that's important. I didn't pay you to say that, right?
No.
Because the joke is we emphasize sports in the show, but no, it is good. I'm sure your parents are happy you're doing that because. And Tommy, what about you? I know you used to play flag football, which is very
Yeah,
important.
you're my coach.
What else?
I just played through middle school. I played football, Pop Warner, and I played my freshman year, and I hated it. So
Yeah.
it just wasn't for me.
It's
And
tough.
so I started playing. It's tough playing two sports at a high level,
Yeah.
which I'm impressed Damani did that first year. So I completely understand why he focused on basketball because it is tough to do both school and three other sports.
And I will say, especially for Mansfield, because
Yeah,
we talked about the
definitely.
69 win percentage. In the fall was probably similar.
Yeah.
And you guys are great athletes. You're starting on the state champion defending team,
Yeah.
but in Mansfield, not every kid can make the team.
Yeah.
And we could talk about the in-town program, but football, where you're talking about almost every sport. Mansfield baseball team is very successful. So,
Yeah.
anyways, thanks for coming on the show, Damani. Good
problem.
luck.
Thank
I'm
you.
going to talk to Coach about the tournament, so you guys don't have any pressure on you. But
All right.
thanks for coming on the show. But if you guys make it, would you consider coming back
Totally.
Yes.
if you have time? All right. Thanks a lot, Tommy.
Thanks
Oh.
for having me.
Thanks. Somebody dropped the mic. That happens every time. But we'll be right back with Coach Vaughn and Christian Connor. Thank you. Welcome back to episode number 13 of Hornets Sports Buzz. We're joined now by Christian Connor, one of the middle kids. I don't know why I said Connor, but welcome, Christian.
Thank you.
And Coach Mike Vaughn. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So we just had a couple of the captains, Tommy Dooling and Damani Scott, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff we talked with them. But let's, Coach. I think you're like Coach Belichick. We don't really want to focus on last year because you're in the middle of the season. But congratulations, Division I state champion. That's awesome.
It was very exciting. It a lot of things went right. I talked to a previous coach a couple years before that had won state titles, and just said, what do you need? And his advice back to me was, you need a special group, you need some luck, you need some health to follow your way, and then you just need a group of young men that kind of share in the same vision that you have. And our tournament run was pretty impressive overall. We were never losing in the fourth quarter through the whole thing. We had won 5 out of our 6 games by double figures. So it was a good run and great team effort.
That's great. 27-2 overall. Christian, you were part of that. I know, Coach will know off the top, but there was one game that you had especially a good game. The team was obviously never trailed in the fourth quarter, but I know you had a great second half. I want to say it was down in Brockton, but do you remember?
The Garden?
The Garden at Everett.
Was
yeah.
it okay? I think I read it on
Yes,
Twitter.
his first effort.
So
Yep.
you came in and sparked the offense and played some great defense.
I mean, yeah, it was one of those lucky nights. I'm just waiting my turn. Especially a great group of kids. It's hard to come out and perform like that every night. But hey.
So you mentioned the Garden, and I think when I say the old days, Coach, 6, 7, 8 years ago, it was the Division I South, which was what you guys play in. Were the finals always in the Garden?
So they did. So they experimented with playing the Eastern Mass Championship for a couple of years, and we were fortunate enough to get there twice. So we ended up playing 4 times, 2 years in a row at the Garden. And ironically, about Christian's performance at the versus Everett is a few years prior to that, his brother Kevin Connor had a superstar game against, and exactly the same night to the day against Central Catholic. So, you know, if Mansfield can mark that day off a calendar, we're going to call that the Christian and Kevin Connor Day of the year, because that was just both of them had, you know, just high-level performances on the right night. And, you know, we played solid in the first half, but the way Christian played in the second half, we needed, you know, every basket, every steal, every momentum. We just needed all of that level to sustain, because Everett was good, and you know, if you play Everett 10 times, you may only get them once or twice based on that level of team. And you know, we just at that point we had kids that were committed to the process, and guys like Christian who came off the bench who just played tremendous.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that game. I was there at that Garden, and I was working in Cambridge. I brought a friend to the game, and I kept saying, "Watch this kid, watch this kid." And he goes, "Who's this kid?" And it was Kevin, and he had a phenomenal game. And I remember after the game saying, you know, I just did my job. It was my turn. But he really helped to carry you guys out. But one final question on that: what's it like to play in the Garden? Because not many people get to play in the Boston Garden. Did you guys have the Celtics locker room, or?
Yeah, we did. It's actually pretty. Wow, it's an honor.
Whose locker did you take?
Who did we take the?
We had
the guest locker.
The guest locker room.
Yeah. Wow.
So it wasn't really but it was still one. Like, it was incredible.
That's great. And take pictures before and after, but
Yeah.
well, maybe not so much before. You got to focus on the game. But so on to this season, because you know last year, you know, great season, and we're just going to hope for the best this year. But Christian, congratulations on being picked captain.
Thank you.
And Tommy and Damani said there's just the 3 of you, right?
Yes.
That's great. And are you a specific type of captain? Damani said he's a locker room, and are you the social captain?
No, I'm the academic captain.
Oh, that's
so
good. Make sure Damani does his homework.
yeah, make sure everybody's
great.
keeping up. Like when we have exams, tell Coach Vaughn like we have final exams this week, so he'll work that out with like practice schedules. So it's pretty good.
That's good, even though Coach is on top of it. But it's good coming. You know, it's good when it comes from one of your peers instead of necessarily the coach or the athletic director or the teachers. That's great. I think that's good that you do that, Coach. How many years have you been doing, like, separating the roles of the captain into?
So we started about 6 years ago, kind of evolving how captainship was thought of, and you know, we do this a little different than most of the other sports at the school. And so what we've done is we implemented a leadership thing that we do every Sunday for an hour. I know a couple of other sports in the school does it as well. I've shared some information and collaborated with Coach Smith from the girls soccer team as well on some of the things. And what we do is every Sunday we go in the classroom before practice, and for an hour we talk about different issues, different things, different ways to be leaders, define leadership, and really try to empower the kids. And then through that, you know, we've tried to set up captainship to be a little bit more like a National Honor Society type thought process, where it's got to be earned of something that you can do. And if you hit a speed bump through the road along the way, or you have something happens along the way, you still have the ability to earn it. It's just a different process for you to go earn it. And a lot of that the kids present in front of their teammates. They have to make sure that they're speaking about why this is important and stuff like that. You know, Christian's done a great job through his 3 years of you know, staying eye on the prize and being a great leader and stuff. So you know, we have 3 good leaders and guys committed to the process, and guys who have all returned from last year, and stuff. So we've really tried to turn captainship into not just a title, but more of like you're going to embrace the process that we try to put in for you, which is leadership on the court, leadership in the locker room, leadership in other areas. So we have a social captain, a bus captain, an academic captain. We have a community captain, which because we don't have enough seniors to fill all the roles, we've actually taken some of the juniors and made them captain-elects, where they get to participate in the role. So our community captain, Sam Stevens and Makai Baskin, Sam set up a can drive a couple weeks ago against Franklin, where people who showed up brought canned goods for donation. And then next week we're going to have a young student from the middle school who's going to join our team, who's going through some of their own battles. So they're going to join our team and be a captain, a special captain. And Makai set that up, and Makai has led the charge on speaking to the proper people and getting that done. So we're really excited about that opportunity next week against Stoughton at home. To have that opportunity. And so a lot of it is just trying to put the kids in position where they can be leaders beyond just, the 2 hours of practice or the an hour and a half game that we play, that really empowers them to do bigger and better things than just, show up and wear a uniform and play basketball.
Yeah, that's great. And do you figure, Christian, was that like part of your personality, or did you kind of have to come a little bit out of your shell to do some of the things that Coach talked about, like, being a leader and talking about the academics and kind of helping the upperclassmen, or you feel like it was a good fit with, who you are?
Oh yeah, because I grew up playing with older kids all my life, with leaders. Being a freshman on varsity in JV, I grew up watching like Max Bowen, all those kids being like good leaders and stuff. So that like transferred me into like being the best I can and just keeping it good.
Yeah, it's funny how it goes. But you've been third year on varsity, is that
Yes.
correct? I'm sure your parents would agree. It goes by quick because I remember when Kevin was playing, and you don't think it's going to be your time, and you're like, wow, I'm a sophomore, I can't be as good as so and so, but here you are. So that's great. Coach, a little bit about your roster. We like to fact check. I'm pulling up from Hawk Sports and/or the Mansfield Athletic website. 14 kids. Does that sound
13.
about 13? Okay.
Yep.
I have 4 seniors, 6 juniors, and 4 sophomores, so maybe one of those numbers. Does that sound about right?
One of the seniors left, so we have 3 seniors.
Okay, that's good. That makes sense. And, again, we don't like to talk about too many individuals, but I know a couple of them are Maddie Bowen, which people at home are familiar with the Bowen name, and TJ Guy.
Yep.
They've been significant contributors to the team.
They have. It's we've been very fortunate that you go back to even like Christian and Damani and Tommy's sophomore year. We've been very fortunate that we've had sophomores step in and be key contributors to our team, and that goes back to when they were younger and their siblings and other players were younger. But we also have a team at practice we call the Greenies, and they're kind of our scout team, and they're our hidden like secret to our success. Is they come into practice and sometimes they get stuck on defense for 55 straight possessions, and yet they still got to find a way to muster up a good possession and try to just play defense. And they're our scout D, and those guys are guys like Christian when he was a sophomore and a freshman, and then they build and they grow and they get their opportunities, and and if you look at our team every night, we're getting a different guy. We've had so far we've had 7 different guys lead us in scoring.
Mm-hmm.
We've had I think eight of our 9 guys that are key rotational guys have all hit double figures. We every night we can get different guys that step up and contribute, and it's just a matter of what guy's going to do it. I think Maddie and TJ have been great sophomores for us, but that doesn't go without having good leadership as well, and having guys at the top that are guiding them to say, this is the way we do things. The faster you learn, the more successful we're all going to be, and I think it starts with the top down.
Great. No, thank you, Coach. You brought up a lot of good points I was going to get to, but if you've watched the show, I kind of ask my questions randomly. Scouting, and tell me if I'm wrong, but during the regular season, you talked about the scout team, but just maybe think about scouting. During the regular season versus postseason, how much scouting does your staff do during the regular season? Again, you don't have to share any secrets because this is
I think everyone knows what our secret is when it comes to scouting because everyone sees us. We were down at BR a couple weeks ago. We had all 7 of our coaches sitting in a line. We basically took up a section of a whole row of a bleacher. Last night I took a ride to Lynn English. In the dark, driving up 1:28 in the traffic. Left my house at 5:15 for a 7 o'clock game. Got home last night at 10:30. Well, I'm there. I have 3 assistants at the Attleboro New Bedford game. So our rule of thumb is we scout all of our opponents as many times as we can before we play them. And then once we qualify for the tournament, which should be hopefully next week if all goes well, then we start identifying our Division I opponents, and then we start scouting them. So we have gone, I would say, at least the last 8 or 9 years where we've seen every Division I opponent in the tournament by the time we get there. So we see teams we're never going to play. But because we don't know who we're going to play until we get there, we scout them all. And I think it's, my staff works tirelessly on that, of just, making sure that we're pulling our weight. We expect a lot out of our kids. We're very demanding. Our 2 hours in that gym at practice is not easy. It's physically and mentally draining. And these guys still have to be young men. They still got to be good students. They still have to go and be good friends and all those. So we put a lot on them. And our way of exchanging with that is that I'm going to have you be prepared. So when we go play a game, you're going to know who starts, who your matchups are, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses, what offenses they run, what defenses they run, and how are we going to game plan to stop them or beat them. And that's our way of giving back to the kids, because they're giving us 2 hours, 6 days a week of their highest level, and that's really the only way, other than being at practice with them, of going above and beyond. So it's a huge priority, and it's a big staple of what we do.
That's great. So those of you that are home and want to take notes, write those notes down there. If you're from another town, throw those notes out. But a lot of good information there. So Christian, from a couple questions I was going to ask you is practices, and pretend coach is not here. I've heard how hard the practices are, and I thought they were an hour and a half, but 2 hours. So you talk about the physical or the mental, or your coach talks a lot about having a high IQ in basketball. May necessarily mean you did great in school, but not. But on the basketball court, you guys not only have to be a great shooter, great defender, but talk about how hard the practices are, if they are hard, and preparing for an opponent like a Franklin or an Attleboro.
It's hard, but we're all committed, so it's not really a struggle for us. We just get through it. We all love this game, and we know what we want to accomplish by the end of the day. I feel like we have a lot of guys like Matty Bowen, TJ Guy, who we have to be like, let's have energy. We have to be those leaders as captains and to the whole team. So
that's good. Quick question: the 2-minute drill. Those in the program know all about it, but can you describe for those that don't know what the 2-minute drill is?
2-minute drill is 2:05, and you have to go.
So you get more than 2 minutes.
Up and back.
Okay.
And 10 up and
10 full
backs?
courts?
Yeah. 10 up.
And this is before or during tryouts, or do you have to do it?
During tryouts, yeah.
And
if
you
you
guys
don't
are
make
ready.
it, you have to keep going.
Yeah. So, and Coach, we could talk about a lot of your ex-plays, but rumor had it Rocky DeAndre, who played 4 years at Bridgewater State, used to do it by himself in the gym, right? Like preparing for the off season.
He does. Most of the guys actually do it
do they?
starting in November. They'll do it on their own. I don't know how many of them force themselves to make it, but they're doing it. And that's really why we do it, is that the kids know in advance what the expectation is. You have to make 4 before you can play. We do them the whole first week and most of the second week, and then for those who don't make it, we keep doing it. We'll do it a couple of times during the season. Typically, maybe not one of our best practices. I'll put 2:05 on the clock and just say, all right, well, practice is over. Let's just finish with a 2-minute drill to kind of, keep guys sharp and focused and stuff like that. But it's Rocky obviously was a very unique guy who prepared at a different level than most. And he would not only run 2-minute drills in the preseason, but he would make them. And when he came into the season, he played at a pretty high level. Tommy did that this year, was definitely in top shape. Christian and a couple of the guys who play football, obviously, they're playing right till Thanksgiving. So for them, it takes them a little bit longer to get into shape. It kind of gets them until the end of almost Christmas time before they've really got their basketball legs underneath them.
A different kind of shape, yeah.
It is a much different type of shape. Football's a lot more, 8 to 10 seconds. Obviously, it's a lot more physical and taxing on your body than basketball. But basketball's a lot more. You've got to sustain things for a minute and a half at a time before you get a break And so a lot of the football kids come in conditioning-wise. It takes them a little while to get there, but you exchange that with their ability to be physical, their ability to be mentally tougher, stuff like that, which is the compliment you get. So everything comes with a good and a bad, and that definitely is the pro and the con of having the football kids join you after their season. So it's definitely a benefit. You like to have the guys like Christian who have that little extra toughness, and they're not going to shy away at contact, and they've been there before, and there's nothing better than a fumbling drill when the ball's on the loose, ball's loose. So you get guys that are capable of seeing that a million times all fall. That's natural to them. Whereas someone who may not have played football in the fall, it takes them a little while to get to the physical part of the basketball games.
So that's another good question. Were you captain of the football team as well?
No, I wasn't.
No. Yeah, there's a lot of football players,
Yeah.
and I know Coach Redding gets you guys ready starting in the spring or in the winter and then spring. But it's interesting that it's a different kind of in shape, different kind of. And I won't ask you what your favorite sport is because I know where Coach. No, I'm just kidding. But Coach, this season, I guess we could talk about any game, but. Let's talk about Franklin, if you don't mind.
Sure.
It was I think you guys, a 2-point game, not in overtime?
Nope, regulation.
Okay, I wasn't there. I read about it, and Franklin had a chance of a free throw, tip ball, and can you tell us what happened to Christian? You remember the end of the Franklin game this year?
Oh, man.
It was a win.
It was a win. We got out of the bounce on the side, and Coach Vaughn just said, just don't let anybody touch the ball, of course. And luckily we got the deflection, so there it is.
How much, you prepare for every game, but, you were a defending champion. They were there, and first of all, if you're a math person, the odds of two teams from the same division/league making Division One, it's got to be preposterously low.
I think it's only happened one other time in the state is the statistic we got from a person at the newspaper. So it's obviously that's very rare. It's not rare in a sense that Franklin's obviously a quality program.
Oh, yeah.
Those kids play hard, they battle. We're a quality program, so in the sense of where we're both at statewide, we've over the last 7 or 8 years we've both been in the top 10, top 20 consistently. I don't know if either one of us has even dropped out of that in the newspaper rankings that they do for high school basketball. But it was just the Franklin game was exciting. Emotional, packed gym. It's everything that you work for is to go out and play in those games, and ultimately getting out of there with a victory was even that much more exciting.
On paper, you look at like two teams at similar records. So they've had a couple losses this year, or maybe 3, but it never. Well, actually, with Franklin it does, but it usually ends up being a 10 or 12 point. But you guys have had some good battles with Franklin. The Attleboro game, unfortunately, that was a loss. And Coach, sorry, how many game streak did you guys have going into? I don't want to put you. I didn't look it up myself because you finished 27-2.
It was around 15 or 18.
Yeah. And Tommy, interestingly enough, said, nobody wants to hear it, but it's almost better to get it out of the way.
Oh, yeah.
You feel that way, Christian?
I completely agree.
Not that you ever want to lose.
Yeah, but it was just a wake-up call. Like Tommy said, it made us as a team come together and understand that we can't walk on the court and think we're going to roll over people.
And you guys, you're going to play them in a couple weeks? 2 weeks, that's good.
I think, too, at the Attleboro game, which was important, is when you go from one team to another, the guys who have been there before sometimes just think that everything's the same. And even as a coach, sometimes I'll go into the preseason and I'll get through the first week and be like, well, I've really done nothing from a teaching standpoint. I just assumed that these are the same guys I've had last year, where we practiced 170 sometimes in the previous year. And so what happens is you get like Christian and Tommy and Damani, they came in with a new ego, a new identity, a new role. They wanted to play a certain way. And then we have these young people who have never seen this before. And you really got to morph the two together. And this year, because of the amount of kids we turned over, where we really only returned 3 kids from the previous team.
Do you remember how many seniors you lost? Do you know that?
6.
Okay,
yeah, so we lost 6. We returned 3 kids who played. So we've got essentially 6 new guys that have to step in and contribute and play at the level that we want to play at. And it's not just varsity basketball for us. It's varsity plus, because we play You know, we have 11 games against top 20 teams on our schedule. Some of those are league games, but the other ones they're our non-league schedule. 2 of those teams with BR and BC High are not even the top 20, but they're on our schedule and historically have been dominant programs. And so you look at the Attleboro game, Attleboro's a very good team, we're a very good team. We played to our level. Probably the thing that we had to take from that game as a learning lesson is just how to value the basketball. And it's something that we pride ourselves on. It's something that we make, is very important to us. And we've done that now. And we've shown games. Canton the other day, we're down 1 at the half. We end up winning by 20-some points. Just the value of the basketball is something that we really pride ourselves on. It separates us from a lot of other programs. What do you do with the ball? When does it move? And sometimes people put value of the ball. It's like, oh, well, did you turn it over or not turn it over? We look at it differently. We value the ball in terms of what did we do with it? How do we pass to each other? How do we shoot it? When do you shoot it? Who shoots it more than who doesn't shoot it? What's a good shot? What's a bad shot? And then defensively, how do you keep the ball out of the basket? And those are the things that we weren't doing well in Attleboro that we're doing much better now. That's
great. I mean, I could talk for hours because it's very interesting stuff. I was going to ask you, but you talked about what we do with the ball, and I was thinking turnovers, but analytics coach, I mean, how, the game has changed so much in the past 5, 10, 20 years, but I know you have in mind, you have that, you're looking at the game and you have several assistant coaches, but do you guys what do you use for analytics to kind of prove that what you're seeing on the court as far as, what we do in the passes?
So I have a stat program that I've used, so I take every game and I rewatch it and I stat it myself. So we stat the game during the game with an iPad app, and then we have a program called Crossover that the kids can watch, and that stats it to about 85% accuracy. And then I stat the game myself on my own stat system. And then every couple of weeks I print them out and I share with the kids, and they get to look where they're at, and it helps us make future decisions as well. It helps identify, guys that maybe need to work better on their free throws, or guys that are shooting a high percentage that maybe need to shoot more. There's times where guys who they're unselfish to a fault. And percentage-wise, we need you to shoot more. And then it kind of, I think when the guys see it, in the back of their mind, it's something that's going to drive a future decision. And, I tell the guys all the time, we want to be good in December. We want to be better in January, better in February, but we want to be great in March. So everything we're doing up to this point, although we have goals of getting into the tournament and winning a league title and all those stepping stones of things that we want to accomplish. Ultimately, we want to be the best team we can be in March. And how do you do that? Well, you scout opponents, you prepare physically and mentally, you use the analytics to make further decisions, and then and then by March, these guys are playing at a high level. At the last 11 years, we've been in the semifinals or the South Section finals or further every year but one. And so, how do you get there? You get there because you have young men like these guys who make a commitment to that thought process.
That's impressive. It's funny, you anticipated several of my questions, because I was going to ask you how you develop a team from last year, which, how successful it was, to preseason, which is very brief, to early, but I think you explained that. And Christian, some of the younger kids, even the talented sophomores, obviously to make the varsity as a sophomore, you have to be talented, but they're all very good / great athletes. If they struggle with, this is 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, my parents are on me for doing homework. Do you tell even the kids that are either starting to come off the bench, do they come to you sometimes and say, Christian, this is a lot. I'm struggling with my Coach Vaughn's rotations, or what I'm supposed to be doing in this. Do you help them out?
Yeah, I mean, they always come to us with everything. They look at us as their big brothers and their leaders. So whatever they need to talk to us, they always come to us. When they're struggling through practices with not being used to the 6 days a week, we just tell them it's a grind. I mean, everybody goes through it, and if you love the game, you gotta commit to it.
That's good. So just a couple questions. So do you take any time off between football and basketball?
Well, I went through an injury during the Fenway game, so I took like 1 week to break. So that was the only break I had.
Do you know that you're probably very few kids that have played in high school, Fenway Park and the Boston Garden?
Yeah.
I wonder, I'll have to look that up, but that's impressive. Yeah. And what are you plans to do for next year, either academically, athletically, or both?
My plans are definitely going to college, playing either football or basketball. I want to pursue playing football, though.
That's great. And at senior year, there's so much going on. You know, in the middle of hoop season, which hoop season is winter season is the longest, I think, because you guys start right after Thanksgiving, and hopefully you go to mid-March. But that's great. And Coach, again, I could ask you. I know what your goals are. You know, from what you said, you know, winning the Hawk, which will be a challenge. And I think I asked Tommy, but talk about just generally the mid-level teams, because, and I asked Tommy and Damani, you guys have a target, but you guys just can't prepare for Franklin, Attleboro, and Canton, who you played the other day. But everybody's coming after you guys, right?
They do. I mean, Milford is you know, up to this point has been a sub 500 team, and they're beating us through 3 quarters. You know, we get everyone's best shot, which is normal. I like it. I think it's good for the challenge, good for the kids. You know, for our schedule, we have a really good league. Our league is really competitive. You know, you look at Franklin's success over the last 2 years. If you go back to 2013, we've played in 2 state title games. Franklin's played in 2 state title games. Milford was a semifinalist in the state in 2013 as well. So,
out of the Central?
In the Central, yep. So you have quality teams, and you know, I look at our league when we play non-league games. I think somewhere last year we were up around 65 or 70% as a league wide in terms of non-league games. When you go
winning percentage?
Winning percentage. When you go try to find non-league games, people say, "Oh, you playing the Hawk? Well, we don't want to play you." And you know, we don't run into that because I'll play anyone. But if you're a North Attleboro or a Canton or an Oliver Ames, and you say, "Hey, we want to go challenge ourselves and play," teams that are on paper better than you tell you no, because they're like, "Oh, you guys playing the Hawk? You guys, we don't play at your level." And it just speaks
they
volumes
get mad at
about.
Mansfield and Franklin?
Yes, yeah. It's actually their own, because they go out and have success out of their league. So, you know, they're kind of in an unfortunate situation in terms of, you know, like Taunton's been a dominant team, but, you know, has record-wise lost to Franklin and Mansfield. So they might have 4 or 5 losses on their record, but they're a very good basketball team. And when they get out of the league, they win. So a lot of teams won't schedule them. You know, North Attleboro is, you know, over the years has been a very quality basketball team. And in our league, they might go 500 because our league's so good. But when they get out of their league, they tend to win. And so a lot of it is, you know, teams in our league have a hard time finding consistent non-league games because everyone views everyone in the league as being high level. This year it's interesting. Our bottom teams are better. We don't really have a bottom of the barrel team like we've had over the years where you get 1 or 2. This year the bottom is way better. And I don't know if the top is as dominant right now. You know, it might play out that way in the state tournament. But the middle of the pack is really interesting, and a lot of close games. You know, it's a lot of 1-point games, a lot of 5-point games, a lot of single digits. So it's going to be interesting how this plays out.
That's good. And just a quick last question, and I try to ask every coach, and you can comment on this. I mean, you mentioned your coaches that have gone, but it's tell me if I'm wrong. Bobby Antroni is your assistant varsity coach. Yep. You got Jacob Van Ryn on the staff. Bruce Belk's your JV coach. Yep. Joe Gracia is the freshman coach. Yep. I know there's another guy, Jim Killian.
Jim Killian, yep. He's coached over at KP for a while. He's on staff. And then my former college coach, Peter Kelly, who lives in Norton, who's on board and helping us out. And then we actually, Joey Gracia took a job at Dell and is leaving the 26th of January. Oh. So we brought in John Vine, who the Vine family from KP, and
Justin played last year.
Justin played last year. His daughter plays right now as a sophomore at the high school, and just a basketball junkie family. You know, and I'm good friends with his brother from many years ago, and so he's going to take over the freshman job when Joey leaves in a couple weeks.
That's great. And Christian, do all those coaches at practice, or is it? I mean, I'm thinking Coach Vaughn runs the show, right?
Yeah.
But I don't want to put words. But do you rely on some of those coaches certain things like?
Coach Bob, all those guys, they're really big help to us. Coach Kelly, he's like, it feels like we're practicing with him. One day he showed up late and he was like, "Oh, I'm sad I can't practice with you guys today." But it's great having those guys around. I'm honored.
That's good. And then I was going to ask Coach, you've been varsity for 3 years, but tell me, and Coach called them greenies, but some kids swing between JV and varsity, right?
Yes.
So do they work with you? They practice with the varsity or the JV?
The swing guys practice with us, and there's only like 3 of them that do that, right?
Yeah.
Only 3 swing players. So.
So yeah, that's great. All right, I'm going to let you guys go because I've
Right.
taken enough of your time. But
Thank
good
you.
luck. And I will ask if you can fit it in during the
Thank you.
tournament. Hopefully you
Absolutely.
can come back. Yeah,
I'll
I
be
know you
back.
guys are busy and you'll be coaching. But good luck this
Yeah.
year,
Thank
Christian.
you.
Good luck next year to you.
Thank you.
That's it for episode number 13. Join in next time because you never know who we're going to have on the show. But thanks for watching.